I would say a great candidate is able to give you the answer you're looking for, give like a personal experience, and then bring it to the conversation that you're having right now.
What would you say is the biggest pet peeve about your job?
I think my biggest pet peeve is when it comes to
That's a good one. I would have said the same
yeah,
thing. I would have
yes.
definitely said the same thing.
You know what? It's gonna be the whole offer question, right? Because I'm pretty transparent in the very beginning, that first phone call,
Okay.
right? I give you the range. I let you know where we can fall, and then I make sure, hey, listen, where is your criteria, right? So even before you get to that very
That
last
last
round,
call.
yeah, I want to make sure that you know what you're aspiring to get to. I know what you're aspiring to get to. And then when we finally have that compensation question,
It's an easy.
it's a hey, listen, I got it. Here you go. And then you turn around like, I gotta think about it. What are you thinking about? what are you thinking about? You said X. I was like, okay, let's get X. Now here I come with X, and now you want Y and Z. What's going on?
Okay, that's
But
fair.
yeah, I would say that's one of the biggest ones because I feel like I put all the cards on the table for you to
Yeah,
choose
yeah,
from. You chose it, and now you want to reshuffle the deck.
yeah.
Feel me?
I definitely think that that's a big one, and I think I would also say is like a lot of other candidates
Mm.
would feel the same thing that they hate that shit. They hate
Right,
that part.
right,
So
right.
as a recruiter talking to candidates that are applying to jobs, what would you tell them? Like, hey, how would you have this conversation with the recruiter? Granted, obviously, not every recruiter is going to be the same.
Right.
How would you tell them to go about that
A great
conversation?
way to dive into it is before you want to get too, excuse me, accurate with the number, go ahead and ask what the range is. If they
Mm-hmm.
don't want to give out the range for whatever reason,
Yeah,
so be it. This is where I would like to stay, right? And this is where I want to be in order to leave my company right now.
yeah.
This is where I need to be,
Okay.
right? And then once that's said and done, you guys had that conversation. They say they can do it. Cool. But just know that whatever you said at that point in time, you might not be locked into it,
Yeah.
but that's definitely going to be like the requirements or like the
That's going to be where you're going to be negotiating from, or
exactly,
or having that
exactly.
conversation.
So if you say 90 and then you turn around and come back and say 115, you look crazy. You
Yeah,
look crazy. It's not going to happen,
it's like you're flip
right?
flopping.
Exactly,
And I think the
exactly.
thing that people maybe don't get from a recruiter's standpoint, they're like, okay, like I changed my answer. I found out that there's more responsibilities. Like
Mm,
now I want more.
mm,
Um, why can't you just give me more? But they don't understand the background, right? The whole process. So what does the whole process look like to even get
exactly.
to an offer?
And then you look shady. You definitely look shady, and then you look unprepared.
Mm,
Because let's say you go into that first conversation and you say you want 90 because you thought that 90 was a good amount. Then you start doing research and you're like, you know what? I found out that this department is 120. What do you mean you found out?
mm-hmm.
So why aren't you prepared for the first call? Like, why are we taking the third round for you to do the research? So now it seems like one, you're not proactive in
Mm-hmm.
what you need to do, right?
And
And
what you
then
were looking for.
two, you're just in it for the money, and no company wants to hire you if you're just in it for the money. They want to
Yeah,
make sure that you're here to dedicate yourself to the company, right?
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, nah.
yeah. And obviously, you want to be fairly compensated, but at the same time, you can't. You're talking to another person at the end of the day,
Absolutely.
and they have to go through approvals with the hiring manager to make sure that hey, this is the candidate you want. And you have to
Right.
go through HR.
Right.
Then you have to go through the system. And sometimes certain companies have a compensation team that they go through, right?
Mm.
So it's a lot of that. Um, that's a big one. Yeah, I think that's a good one. Okay, now what are some of the things on the opposite side of that you enjoy about recruiting?
I enjoy the first conversation, the recruiter to candidate conversation, because I feel like everything they're about to experience is set from that first
That's
tone.
true.
So it's just like
You set the tone.
exactly. You come into that interview, the very first call, you're strict, you're stern, you're hard on like just asking questions, right? You don't care about who's on the other line. You just want to. So tell me about the time when. Tell me about this experience. Tell me about right versus being personable and really getting to understand the person,
Mm-hmm.
right? I feel like if you're doing the latter versus the former, at that point in time, you're actually setting the candidate up to really showcase their talents, right? Because they see what type of environment they're really going to interview within,
Yeah.
so they know how they can approach the next few rounds.
Yeah.
Right, so they're able to open up a lot more. They're able to really like, hey, this is a more a conversation and interrogation versus you come in on the former, then they're nervous. They're studying over the words. They don't know what it is that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Now is it silence on the phone while they try to think of an answer, right? But yeah, I definitely like that first conversation because I feel as if I could set that tone, all the experience on either the actual interview panel side
Mm-hmm.
and the candidate side is definitely like increased tenfold.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
they know, like, oh, Otis already told me about this. How can I
Exactly.
know what to
Yeah,
expect?
you know what you're going into. So
Okay.
I like setting that
So
tone.
candidates ask your recruiter questions because they're the ones that know.
End of the day, yeah.
Cool. We talked about that initial call. That's your favorite part.
Yeah.
Now, when you're in that call, what's your favorite, or what's the thing you look out for to differentiate between a good candidate, oh, it's a good candidate,
Right.
versus a great candidate?
The way they rattle off the answer,
Okay.
right? So what I mean by that is, I would say a great candidate is able to give you the answer you're looking for, give like a personal experience, and then bring it to the conversation that you're having right now. So instead of just like giving you a story,
Yeah.
right? Being able to answer the question, hit the question with a situational type of likeness, and then at the same time showcase the fact that they are indeed the person that can do the best within that question set. Tell me about a time when you did X, Y, and Z. They give you the time. They told you how they actually like tackled it on, and then they show you how they grew as a person, all
Oh.
within one answer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Versus someone that they're still prepared
Yeah.
because they looked up that question, they found it on Google. Someone's gonna ask me, tell them at the time, and you could like you can hear them rattling through pages like, oh, should I answer this one? I answer this
Yeah.
one,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then they start reading off like the
Sounds
exact
scripted,
time.
maybe.
Yeah, like when it's really scripted. Because when it's scripted, and then when it comes to what you're particularly hiring for and the type of company,
Yeah.
while yes, you answer the question, it's the fact that you're not able to really like, I'm not gonna say think on your feet, but be able to have that genuinity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because startup company, shit happens every single day, every single second.
Yeah.
Right. So you're not able to go back into your sheets. Like you're not able to like really
hold up.
right, reference the question, reference your answer. You can't do that. You have to be able to think right here, right now. All right, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to get this situated in order to make sure that everything is copacetic.
Yeah.
Right. So that person that's able to bring it all together, give you the answer, give you the situation, and then like really come back and tell you like the summary as to why that was a good answer. That's the person I want to go
Yeah.
with.
And I think that's one of the things that I was also gonna say is like the last part where you summarize it, like here's how it's relevant to the question you just asked,
Right.
or here's how I grew, like that impact piece, right? I think one thing I've noticed a lot of hiring managers ask is like, what's the impact that they made? Like, yeah, you could have been doing the task, but what was at the end of the day, what was the impact?
Exactly.
And people forget to say like, they'll be like, this is so. They think that you'll be connecting the dots, and
Right.
we will be connecting the dots,
Of course.
but when they are self-aware to the point where they're like, I'm laying it out as a beautiful bouquet of flowers for you. It's already done. You don't need to do anything.
Right.
You don't even do no connecting. It's already connected for you.
Absolutely.
That's where you're like, okay, perfect, because you know that they're gonna go back to those executive meetings and present, and they're gonna talk, and they're gonna be able to make everybody understand.
You're taking the initiative.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Going off of that, then, what would you say is the most common mistake that candidates make, whether it be from the initial call, during the offer? Like, what's something that you see a lot of candidates make? Doesn't take them to the next step.
Doesn't take them to the next step. Okay. I would definitely say, and it's on both the hiring panel as well as the candidate themselves. But you know that one situation where they're like, well, they didn't ask me enough questions, right? Yeah, I feel like sometimes the hiring panel isn't really communicating enough to really showcase what it is that you're offering as far as the role goes, right? So let's say round one answers 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3 really covers the entire role, right? There's no room for, damn, what else is there that this role can potentially have?
Yeah.
So when the candidate gets to that next round, there's really nothing to ask, right? I mean, what are you going to do? Ask about your experience? That's
Yeah.
cool, but that's just one question.
Yeah, yeah. You
And
need
that's
at
it's
least two or three good ones.
exactly, and it's rudimentary. So it's just like now the hiring panels are thinking, oh, you just asked it just to say you asked the question. When genuinely the candidate possibly does not have a question to ask because the first person already did. So I feel like that mistake is both on the hiring panel as well as the candidate, and that's what something that happens very commonly. But at the same time, retrospect, sometimes they really just don't ask questions. And you know who does it? The person that does it the most is the one that has the most experience because
Ooh.
they know they have it all,
They
right?
think, oh yeah, I
Yeah,
see that
yeah,
a lot.
like
Yeah.
I'm fired. I'm a data analyst. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah.
I'm coming from Facebook. I'm coming from X, Y, and Z. I have no questions. My
Yeah.
question is why I'm not hired yet, and that's why you're not hired. That right there. You feel
Yeah,
me?
yeah.
So yeah, no, that's
And I
I
think
would say
that that's a good one because it kind of reflects that people come in with the mentality of like I already know everything versus coming in with the mentality of like I know that I don't know everything and I'm willing to learn new
right,
things, right?
right,
Kind of having that growth mindset. A little
absolutely.
cliche, but you know, it is what it is.
No, most definitely. And then,
Um,
well, another thing I would say is a common mistake is if you're going to ask what makes someone successful within his role, whenever that person gives you the response, so now what you're supposed to do is kind of incorporate everything you've been telling them during this interview process, and then see like, all right, with everything that I've said, do you think that I would, bring X, Y, and Z as far as what you said?
yeah,
So
yeah,
now you can have more of a conversation. It might take you over as far as the time frame goes, but now that question is expounding more.
yeah.
They're making you like you're making them feel as if, hey, they really want to be in this
He's
role.
in the
Like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
like they want to know more. Like, yeah, so you're really trying to uncover what your strengths are at this point in time in the interview process.
Hmm.
So with that question, you can't just ask that question and let them answer. You have to ask it, listen to the answer, and then rebuttal. Honestly.
Okay, that's a good one. Yeah, yeah.